Author Tips: Why Book Fonts Matter More Than You Think. Hi, I'm Molly Hunter with Carolina House Publishing, and today I need you to stop thinking about your words for a moment and start thinking about something you have probably never considered. I am talking about the fonts in your book, the invisible architecture of your manuscript that your readers feel on every single page, even though they never consciously notice it. Most authors pour everything they have into their writing. They agonize over every sentence, every chapter, every scene. And then when the manuscript is finished, they slap a default font on the page and send it off to print without a second thought. That is a mistake. And by the end of this video, you are going to understand exactly why. Because legibility is just the beginning. The right typography transforms a simple story into an immersive experience that readers cannot put down. The wrong typography creates invisible friction that makes readers feel tired, distracted, or disconnected without ever understanding the reason. Let's get into it. The subconscious speedometer. Have you ever picked up a book and felt like you were gliding through the pages? The words flowed effortlessly. You lost track of time. You looked up and realized you had been reading for 2 hours without a break. Now think about a different book where every page felt like work. The reading felt slow and heavy. You kept losing your place. You found yourself rereading the same paragraph twice. You put the book down after 20 minutes and never picked it up again. You probably blamed the writing, and maybe the writing was part of it. But there is a strong chance that the typography was working against you the entire time. Here is what is happening beneath the surface. Your eyes do not move smoothly across a line of text. They jump in small rapid movements called saccades, landing on clusters of letters and then leaping forward to the next group. Between those jumps, your brain is processing the shapes of the letters, assembling them into words, and extracting meaning. This process happens thousands of times per page, and it is so automatic that you never notice it. But when the font is poorly chosen, this process becomes harder. When letters are spaced too tightly, your eyes struggle to distinguish one character from the next. When they are spaced too loosely, your eyes have to travel farther between letters and the words start to feel disconnected. When the letter forms themselves are unusual, decorative, or inconsistent in their proportions, your brain has to work harder to recognize each word. That extra effort creates what typographers call micro-fatigue. You do not feel it as a sharp discomfort. You feel it as a vague sense that the reading is slow, that the book is dragging, that something is just slightly awful. Your readers will never say, "The kerning in chapter 4 made me put this book down." But they will say, "I just could not get into it." And in many cases, the typography is the silent culprit. The architecture of immersion. Great typography does the opposite of what bad typography does. Instead of creating friction, it removes every possible barrier between the author's words and the reader's imagination. The font becomes invisible. The page becomes a window into the story rather than a surface the reader has to decode. This is why the most respected book designers in the publishing industry spend serious time selecting and testing fonts for every title they work on. They are not choosing fonts because they look pretty. They are engineering the reading experience at a level most authors never think about. Let me break down the key elements that make this work. Serif fonts are the standard for printed book interiors, and there is a solid reason for that. The small strokes at the ends of each letter, called serifs, create a subtle horizontal line that guides the reader's eye along each row of text. That visual guide reduces the effort your eyes need to track from one word to the next, especially across long lines of text on a printed page. Fonts like Garamond, Caslin, Palatino, and Baskerville have been refined over centuries specifically for this purpose. They were designed to be read in long form, and their proportions reflect hundreds of years of testing and refinement. Sans serif fonts, which lack those small strokes, work well on screens and in headings, but can create subtle fatigue in long printed passages because the eye has fewer visual anchors to follow along the line. That does not mean sans serif fonts are bad. It means they serve a different purpose, and choosing one for a 300-page novel interior is usually working against your reader's comfort. Line length matters too. If your lines of text stretch too far across the page, the reader's eye has to travel a long distance to find the beginning of the next line. That extra effort breaks the rhythm of reading. If the lines are too short, the reader's eyes are bouncing back to the left margin so frequently that the flow feels choppy and fragmented. The ideal line length for comfortable reading falls somewhere between 55 and 75 characters per line, including spaces. This is one of the reasons professional book formatting uses specific margins and font sizes that many self-published authors overlook. Line spacing, also called leading, plays an equally important role. When lines are packed too closely together, the text feels cramped and the reader's eye can accidentally jump to the wrong line. When lines are spaced too far apart, the page feels disconnected and the reader loses the sense of flowing from one sentence to the next. The right amount of leading creates breathing room without breaking the visual connection between lines. Removing decorative distractions. One of the most common mistakes I see from newer authors is choosing a font because it looks interesting, unique, or artistic. They pick a decorative script for their chapter headings. They use a novelty font for the body text because it feels like it matches the mood of their story. They mix multiple fonts throughout the manuscript because variety seems more creative. Every one of those choices adds cognitive friction for the reader. Decorative fonts demand extra processing power from the brain. They slow the reading speed. They pull the reader's attention away from the story and toward the surface of the page, and that is the opposite of what you want. The goal of great book typography is to disappear. You want your reader to forget they are looking at ink on paper. You want them so deep inside your story or your teaching that the physical book becomes invisible in their hands. That only happens when the typography is clean, consistent, and designed for sustained, comfortable reading. Strip away the decorative distractions. Choose a proven body text font. Keep your formatting consistent from the first page to the last. Let your words do the work, and let the typography stay out of the way. How to audit your own manuscript. Here is a simple process you can follow right now to evaluate whether your typography is helping or hurting your book. First, print a full chapter of your manuscript and read it in one sitting. Do not read it on a screen. Print it at the actual trim size of your finished book. Pay attention to how the reading feels. Are your eyes comfortable? Do you feel pulled forward through the text, or do you feel like you are pushing through it? Does anything feel cramped, loose, or hard to follow? Second, check your line length. Count the characters in a typical line of your body text. If you are consistently above 75 or below 55, your margins or font size likely need adjustment. Third, look at your font choice honestly. Is your body text a well-established serif font designed for long-form reading, or is it something you chose because it looked nice in a short sample? If you are not sure whether your font is appropriate for book interiors, compare it side by side with the interior of a professionally published book in your genre. The difference is often immediately obvious. Fourth, check your consistency. Are your chapter headings, body text, page numbers, and running headers all using a coherent typographic system, or does every element feel like it was chosen independently? Professional book formatting creates a unified visual language across every page of the manuscript. And if you are looking at your manuscript right now and realizing that the typography needs work, that is completely normal. Most authors are not trained in book design, and there is no shame in recognizing that this is a specialized skill, getting the very best for your book. The fonts you choose and the way they are formatted on the page have a direct impact on how your book feels and reads. When professional typography is combined with skilled editing and expert formatting, your finished book becomes something that is genuinely easier to read and more enjoyable to experience. The reader stays immersed, the pages turn faster, and the book earns the kind of reviews that mention how much the reader loved the experience without ever knowing that the typography was part of the reason. If you want the very best formatting and editing for your book, Carolina House Publishing is here to help. We handle the invisible details that turn a manuscript into a professional reading experience so you can focus on what you do best, which is writing. Now here is my question for you, and I would love to hear your answer in the comments. Have you ever thought about the fonts in your book before today? Or is this the first time you have considered how typography affects the reading experience? Tell me below. And if you have a favorite book font, share that too, because I bet other authors in this community would love to know what is working for you. And if you are learning something new from these author tips, subscribe to our channel right now and tap that bell icon so you never miss a video. We cover everything from the big picture strategy to the small details that make a professional difference. And there is always something new on the way. Thanks for watching. I'm Molly Hunter with Carolina House Publishing, and I will see you in the next one.